Hi, this is Don Clutterbuck, Business Development Manager at Horner, and some of you may be thinking, where is Chuck Ridgway? Well, Chuck is on some well-deserved time off, and I'm sure in his videos coming up that he will show you some pictures of his bicycle trips across Iowa and Michigan. But we here at Horner thought that with some announcements coming up in the next few weeks, we wanted to give you a heads up of what is coming with Cscape 10.2 and the enhancements and additions to OCS360. So let's get to the agenda. The things that we will be covering would be the Cscape 10.2 release and what are the major additions to that release, some enhancements with OCS360 and add-ons, and then a sneak peek of a standalone device connecting directly up to 360, which is a very exciting thing that we're planning on doing. So let's look at the major additions on the hardware side of things in Cscape 10.2. First thing, we'll talk about OCS remote connectivity in the next couple slides, but on the hardware side of things, we will be including the CPU 300 and the HMI Connect displays. This is the next level up of our standalone CPUs. It's a Canvas controller, and then it's using a FTP link to connect up to those remote displays, and we'll be doing a launch webinar on these. And this is a very exciting product that no one else in the industry is using right now. And it will allow you to separate the controller with the display. And the only thing you need to remember is that the display has no smarts in it. Everything is still being driven by the CPU down below. So therefore, if anything happens to the display, damage, whatever, you just unhook the one cable and hook the new one in. So this is a very exciting product that we're going to be announcing hopefully this month. And then in Cscape 10.2, we'll be adding additional OCS I/O modules, including the much anticipated high-speed counter 840 module that will be able to do a whole bunch of very high-speed counting applications. So we're excited to announce that also. On the software side of things, there's going to be some find and replace improvements. That's great. What's exciting is the bookmarks in Logic. So in Logic, if you have certain pieces of code that are very important to the operation of the machine, you can use bookmarks and therefore use either shift keys and so forth or the bookmarks tool drop down in the header to go to those bookmarks very quickly instead of scrolling up and down and searching for that piece of code. So that's very important and a very cool product that we're putting into 10.2. The other thing we're adding is OCS I/O multiple base detection, meaning if you have multiple remote OCS I/O racks, whether you're using the CNX 100 or the CNX 116, Cscape will identify those, and then you can then go into the hardware configuration and set up the hardware exactly the way you want it set up. But it will go out and find those multiple bases. And then, of course, there's the bug fixes and features, which will be in the release notes if you really want to get down to see exactly what we have improved in Cscape 10.2. So let's do a quick review of OCS360. OCS360 was launched back in February, and we did a variety of different launch webinars and so forth. And I always said that there was 3 parts of OCS360. The first part would be data collection and data storage and analytics. OCS360 was developed to help our customers start collecting data because we know analytics is going to play a big part in running your company, finding major errors and so forth. But you can't do any of that until you start collecting the data. And because OCS360 only works with Horner controllers, we have made it extremely easy to start collecting data And if you go back into the February time frame on our YouTube channel, you will see we step you through on how to add a device, how to start collecting data, how to export the data, how to control widgets, and so forth. So that is a very important part of OCS360. The other part is data visualization and control, dashboards. So we'll talk about dashboards in a few seconds. And the third part that wasn't released was the remote connectivity part, or OCS360 Remote. And that's what we're going to be announcing this month, and we'll talk about that in a few slides. So going back to data collection is key to do any sort of advanced analytics, doing anything with predictive maintenance, energy management, anomaly detection, optimization of operations, if I could say that word correctly, and a whole bunch of other things. But you can't do any of those until you start collecting the data. And part of our subscription plans, we will save the data from 2 to 5 years of data. That data is your data. We do not look at that data unless you ask us to. And you can download that data and use it into a CSV file and then import that into any other analytics software that you have. So everything we send up to OCS360, we data log it. And that's a very important part. It's very easy. I can guarantee you that if that controller is on the internet, we can start collecting data in a matter of minutes the way we have set up Cscape to start publishing that data. The second part of OCS 360 is the cloud visualization and control. We use a variety of different widgets that allow real-time visualization of the data. So therefore we have alarm tables, radial dials, time series line charts. We have a variety of different tanks that show filling, digital thermometers, and map widgets. That widget there we have discussed more with customers than any other widget combined. Using Google Maps, you can place bookmarks across the country, across the world, to identify where your machines are, and then you can drill in to each one of those icons to see the most important data coming from that controller. If not, you can double click and drill into that controller to get more data. By far, this is the most talked about widget that I have had questions on, and everybody wants to use it in some fashion. So this is a sample of some of the dashboards that we have used. This is just a bitmap of a wastewater facility plant, and then on top of it we have done numerous things here that you can drill into more data if you wanted to. So again, this is a 30,000 foot level type visualization where you can drill down and so forth. And we're always adding improvements on the widgets and so forth. But again, going back to the YouTube channel back in the February, March timeframe, we show you how to create dashboards. And if you have any questions, you could always contact me. You can contact tech support. Or better yet, come to the advanced training in November in Indianapolis, and we will actually be doing a dashboard with some of the data in some of the labs. So very exciting product, and with some of the enhancements that we are doing to OCS 360, we are making it easier for you to start collecting your data. So what are some of the OCS 360 enhancements? Well, we'll talk about remote connectivity in a few seconds here. But multi-tenant support. This is a big, big improvement in OCS 360. What does this mean? Up until recently, you only had one tenant that controlled your whole project, if you want to call it that way. That tenant was responsible for developing dashboards, creating alarms, how do those alarms get sent out, what data to log, how often, that sort of stuff. But with feedback from our customers, what if an integrator or an OEM had multiple project engineers that needed to work on that project? The only way to do it would be to share a password, and that wasn't the right way of doing it. So you could add multiple people and make them tenants so they can develop the application. This is a really big improvement. The next is audit log export, meaning we log everything that happens in OCS 360, meaning if somebody changes the temperature, stops the process, acknowledges an alarm, generates an alarm, it all goes in the audit log, and you can export that into a file that you can analyze if something happens that you need to go back to see if someone did something without authorization and so forth. And then with the OCS, we also are adding additional products that connect directly to OCS 360, and we'll talk about this at the end, about this product. And finally, the number one feature that is coming with OCS 360 is that now you can try the subscription or the OCS 360 without entering a credit card. Up until now, you had to enter a credit card to continue the registration process. Even though that credit card didn't get charged for 90 days because you get a free 90-day trial with OCS 360, a lot of people, and understandably, did not want to put it on their personal credit card. And maybe they didn't have access to the corporate credit card. So therefore now, you can sign up for OCS 360 without a credit card, but you'll start getting reminders within 30 days or 60 days, 30 days, 15 days, 7 days, 1 day of a credit card will need to be entered for you to continue your project moving forward. After that credit card gets charged, then you have the 12-month subscription, and then it'll get renewed at the end of 12 months. So this is really big. We've had a lot of people that walk through it, and then once the credit card is asked, they stop the registration process. But now you can try OCS 360 for 90 days without entering any of that. That's a really big enhancement. And finally, we talked about remote connectivity. So we're calling this OCS 360 Remote, and it will be released very soon, within the month. Right now we're doing some functional, and we'll talk about it, but what this allows you to do, it allows you to use your laptop running Cscape using the OCS 360 backbone to communicate to your remote devices without using a third-party device in the front end of your controller. Because the way OCS 360 works, there's secure outbound tunnels being created that connect up to the OCS 360, and then that's how it gets communicated from Cscape to the device. This is a very important feature that will help you and make it easier for you to connect up to those remote devices using Cscape, but using the OCS 360 backbone. So what are the OCS 360 remote basics that you need to know? Right now, it's being internally beta tested. Very soon, we will be asking for customer beta participation. If interested, contact us and we can get you on that beta program. It will be available to add to existing OCS 360 subscription packages, meaning it'll just be an add-on. But it will also be a standalone package for those people that aren't part of OCS 360 that you can subscribe and configure directly in Cscape. And I'll show you how to start that off in the next slide. The subscription fee, and it's still being developed, but just think of it as it could be $100 to sign up. The subscription fee will be based on the amount of data being used in the connection. The base plan will start at 1 gig, and you can buy additional increments of a gig. Question is, how do you know how much data you're going to be using? Well, when you get this all set up, you will have an indication of how much data you used in megabytes and percentages, and you'll be able to buy additional increments along the way. think of it this way. When you download a PGM file to the micro SD card, that is roughly the same size as what you would upload and download using OCS360 Remote. So that would be a good way of figuring out how much data you would need. Now this, you can have as many devices that you want to connect up to. Everything is based on the data being used, not the number of connections. And of course, with OCS 360 Remote, you get a 90-day free trial to try it out. So again, this is that last piece that we were talking about using remote connectivity using the OCS 360 backbone. It's a very exciting time, and I'm really excited that we can announce that. So in Cscape 10.2, for those who are familiar with the connection wizard, you will see we have some very updated icons for the way we communicate to the controller, and there's an additional one there with OCS 360. That will not be active if you try to turn it on. That's part of the beta program. We can turn it on for you, but you need to let us know if you want to be part of the beta. But this is the way, when everything is released, that you will go and be able to say, okay, I want to connect to my remote controller using OCS 360. But if you're interested in becoming a beta user, just let any of your Horner representatives know, and we'll get you on the beta program, the external beta program. So this OCS 360 Remote is going to be a great feature and hopefully easier for you to get connected to your remote controllers. I know there's questions out there about control engineers working with IT departments and so forth, and we're working on a white paper to try to explain that we are using the highest level of security of communications this way, and the way the things work, the IT department really shouldn't have much of an issue letting OCS 360 Remote being connected by it's a much safer way of connecting. So we'll let you know when that white paper becomes available. So that's the enhancements to 360 on the Cscape side. That product that I talked about that's coming soon, and we're calling it a cellular I/O gateway for OCS 360. This is a standalone device that has a couple of universal analog inputs, a couple digital inputs, and then a digital output in a standalone device with a cellular connection that will send data directly up to OCS 360 for data collection and dashboards. So again, the remote fields, wastewater, and so forth that you need just a couple of points that you need to send up. You don't need to put it to an OCS controller. We have this built-in device that with the cellular connection that will go up and put the data into OCS 360 for you to analyze and visualize and so forth. So that is being tested right now, and we're very excited about that product. And finally, just a reminder, back in July 1st, we released the CPU 250 and the CPU 200. Now, the 250 was sort of designed to kind of replace our older RCC type controllers. So you see here the CPU 250 has 8 digital inputs, 10 digital outputs, and then 8 flexible inputs depending on how you need analog and or digital. And then you have 8 analog outputs. If you need more I/O than that, you can use OCS I/O and just slap them on the side of the unit, 7 modules, and be able to expand your system I/O-wise. The CPU 200 does not have any I/O on it. Same features with LAN ports and serial ports. And then again, you just use OCS I/O to put on the side of the unit and expand your system that way. Say you wanted AC inputs instead of DC inputs. We have an AC input OCS I/O card that you can put on the side. So again, these are released. We're getting a lot of great feedback on these controllers, and we'll be having, again, that release sometime in the middle, the end of August, talking about the CPU 300, which is the canvas version of our controllers. And just a reminder, Our training schedule, we have a basic class in October. Space is very limited, so if you're planning on coming, please get with our marketing department or go to this website. And then we have the advanced class November 4th and 6th. And again, we're going to be creating our own OCS360 project, and you'll be able to see how easy it is to get data up to OCS360. And our trade show schedule, if you are in the Grand Rapids area tomorrow or Thursday, stop by the booth. We have all our new products there, and we'd love to talk to you. You know, we have other trade fairs and distributor events throughout the country. The next August 7th in Chicago with Powermation. Our big show, September 9th, starting in Chicago, is in WEFTEC. That's the Water Environment Federation. They'll be there for a couple days. We're actually going to be out in Portland, Maine with the world-famous IAS Oktoberfest on October 7th. And then down in Florida at Lake Buena Vista, Disney World, the ISA Automation Summit booth, Horner will be represented there, and then October 23rd. Just to remember, we are on YouTube, we are on LinkedIn. Please go to our websites. I can't highly recommend enough our YouTube channel. Chuck has done a tremendous job in creating different videos on how to connect this up to that and so forth. I know a couple weeks ago he did a OCS controller to a Control Techniques drive. How does that work? He continues to come up with all kinds of different applications and so forth. And talking about that, next Tuesday, Chuck is going to be using the CPU 250 I/O configuration using variables. So again, people have asked different ways to configure the controllers using variables instead of register-based and so forth. So he's going to be doing that next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Well, that's it for now. Please look out for our invites for our launch webinars that are coming out soon, talking about our new CPU 300 products. And as Chuck would say, let's do some good out there. Thanks. Have a great day.